Burntrap is a character that is obviously meant to be the revived William Afton, right? He always comes back after all. But today we're going to be exploring an important theory that, if true, may solve a major issue expressed by the community about how Afton does come back again and again, even when it should be impossible at this point. This theory comes from fellow FNAF theorist and Tom, who claims that Burntrap isn't the post-fire Scraptrap, aka William's true body, that's been simply brought back to life and somehow escaped his torment. No, Burntrap isn't the true William Afton, but it's trying to be. So without further ado, let's begin our investigation into this theory and add any more evidence we can find to back it up. Now, in order to start, let's quickly recap what we know so far. In FNAF 6, Henry sets up a trap to lure all the leftover animatronics to one place, so that he can burn them all underground, including William Afton, although he isn't freed to move on like the others, and instead gets tormented in Ultimate Custom Night by a vengeful spirit, who will not let him go until they are ready to rest. Although back in the real world, when Fazbear Entertainment are trying to rebrand and create a virtual reality game, they are mysteriously delivered
vintage control boards
which could be scanned
using proprietary technology developed by Fazbear Entertainment,
leading them to be
digitally recreating performances and personalities from the past in an instant.
Basically in easy to understand terms, since this stuff isn't actually realistic. They received old circuit boards that they can easily scan to recreate performances and personalities from the past. This means you can just grab Freddy's circuit boards, for example, scan it and get a perfectly accurate performance from the 1990s. Although once they scan all these circuit boards, Glitchtrap infects the game, infects Vanessa, blah blah blah. We end Security Breach learning that presumably the real Springtrap has now been reborn thanks to Vanny's help, acting now with nothing but revenge in his sights. Although, as I said earlier, that's not actually Afton. How? Well, if you aren't aware, a new series of FNAF books have been started. That series being named Tales from the Pizzaplex. And so new books have been releasing every so often, seemingly started with just some fun stories about some random things, and recently leading into stories that genuinely drop bombshell after bombshell, helping us come to a conclusion about a few things in Security Breach and the modern FNAF story. The newest book in the series, The Bobby Dots Conclusion, features a story we'll talk about another day named GGY, short for Gregory, but also features a story titled The Storyteller. Within this story, Mr. Burrows, head of Fazbear Entertainment, blames the creative team for the Pizzaplex not earning enough money, and so he wants to downsize that team, suggesting they create an AI to come up with stories and give out instructions to the animatronics and electronics, basically connecting and controlling the entirety of the Pizzaplex. They decide to house said machine within a fake tree, although when the Storyteller is activated, the animatronics start to turn into their Security Breach counterparts, and become more aggressive and amplified versions of themselves. Glamrock Chica becoming obsessive for attention, and as we see in Security Breach, starts overeating. Roxanne Wolf's teasing turns cruel, and Montgomery Gator turns incredibly violent and aggressive. The main protagonist of the story, Edwin Murray, investigates the machine, going into the tree and seeing that the machine has a tiger head hooked up to it, which we'll presumably learn about more in the next book, Tiger Rock, and that it's running a program named Mimic 1. The rest of the story is Edwin trying to fix the code. Mr. Burrows learns about him sneaking into the Storyteller and traps him in there, only to learn that he suffocated inside, although the door is shut behind Mr. Burrows himself now, and even after trying his best to turn the machine off or cause a malfunction, the program continues to run, and it's assumed that he suffocates as well. It's also revealed that Edwin actually created the Mimic 1 program, its endoskeleton, and also that he's experienced this before, stating how, quote, it's happening again. Now, the reason I'm telling you about this story is because of that Mimic 1 program that's controlling the Pizzaplex and causing the animatronics to get aggressive and or their personalities increase tenfold. Does it sound familiar to you? That would be because this virus is the Glitchtrap virus, and Mimic 1 is the in-universe code's name. But before we talk about the Mimic and its implications for the new story of FNAF, how is this virus able to control something? Well, ID's Fantasy has a possible answer, because
in Security Breach, the Glitchtrap virus has the ability to influence behavior of the infected animatronics and Vanny due to them being infected by it. However, this actually isn't the first time in the franchise that William has done something like this. In the novel The Twisted Ones, the animatronics are all connected by a system meant to control the choreography of the shows, and by becoming Springtrap, William gained control of the system that that was built into Spring Bonnie, and through that was able to control the animatronics. I think Glitchtrap works in a similar way. Whenever the virus infects something or someone, it connects them to a system, so to speak, ultimately controlled by William. For the humans infected, it's probably a bit more complicated, as the FNAF AR emails understandably imply Vanny is getting her directions from the computer and not beamed directly into her head, but the influence and drive to follow those directions is still ultimately there.
But anyways, back to the Mimic, and this isn't the first time this Mimic has appeared, by the way. Much like the Stitch Wraith stingers in the Fazbear Frights books, these books also have their own stingers that are all about this Mimic Endoskelton, which seems to be telling us the Burntrap Endoskeleton's origins. Like Entom says in his theory, it's interesting that Mimic 1 is able to have the capability of taking information of characters, and then rehashing it to generate its own stories and outcomes, just like an AI problem, except it fits with its name, Mimic. This program is mimicking the information fed to it. It's possible that we're going to learn that the Mimic 1 program was actually Edwin's attempt at making the first artificial intelligence with adaptive learning. However, instead of coding it entirely, like in the Storyteller, he could instead have a robot that would observe humans and mimic them in order to learn. And the thing is, although it's not actually been told to us yet, this is actually hinted at in the games themselves with these murals in the Endo warehouse that show us commands for the Endos to observe and mimic the right and wrong decisions. And we actually see this in action, although interestingly enough, this time with the staff bots, in this very spot, with the bot clearly trying to mimic the mural in front of it. Entom also realized that Edwin's story is repeating a similar theme that we've already seen before in FNAF. A father failing and grief causing something awful to result from it. Edwin lost his wife during the birth of his son, and then in his grief he struggled to be a good father while building machines, which ultimately led to consequences involving the Mimic. We saw this with Henry in the book trilogy, Dr. Talbot in the Frights epilogues, and now we're possibly seeing it with Edwin in the Tales series. There's a chance Edwin poured his grief and anger into the Mimic 1 program, and it began to learn from his anger and mimicked it, which led to it becoming lethal. It then went rogue and killed many more, in the process becoming powered by more and more agony. Perhaps at one point the program was seized by Fazbear Entertainment and then repurposed as an AI generation software, and because it was given information of the past, the myths, rumors, tragedies and more of Fazbear Entertainment's past, the program then took hold of its information, and the agony then formed a manifestation of what it perfectly resembled, William Afton. Mimic 1 had injected code into the VR game that allowed itself to take a digital avatar, Glitchtrap. It's a mimic of Afton. This would have allowed Afton to manifest back as Mimic 1 due to the amount of agony powering the program. This is what Afton truly meant in Fazbear Frights by claiming, "I am agony." That might have been his declaration that his spirit would die, but he would be reborn. Not as William Afton, but rather he would live on metaphorically as agony, connected to Freddys. Thus, people's pain caused by the Mimic allowed a machine to piece him back together as a mimic of what he once was. We also read in the FNAF AR special delivery emails that Springtrap wasn't actually intended to be produced by the Funtime service, despite the fact that it now is. This program could have done it itself, and has already created replicas of Afton, already spawned mimics of him, before Security Breach even begins. William Afton may be dead alright, he may be forever tormented in Ultimate Custom Night and stay dead, but he's back in a new way. He has returned, he has come back like he promised he would. The Mimic is now his perfect victory. Even dead, he continues to win. Not only was all of this seemingly foreshadowed in the Fazbear Frights story 1:35 AM, with the quote, "You can take agony, add any kind of intelligence, even an artificial one, and they will combine together into an action." But it seems like mimicking itself is actually a prominent theme in this new FNAF story too. The entirety of FNAF VR shows the animatronics being mimicked to perfection, and the entire point of FNAF AR is that they're replicas of previous characters. They're mimicking them. Security Breach has staff bots that seemingly mimic the Afton family and the missing children's incident. And even though this next point is small, we do see that even the VR rooms made for the virtual reality game are being recreated and mimicked throughout the building too. even the old room that Michael Afton 100% used to watch TV in. We even learn how Vanessa claims to have a backstory that mirrors Elizabeth Afton, with her father being named Bill, which is a nickname for William, etc. Instead of this showing Vanessa is an older robot version of Elizabeth or something along those lines, it could more so be showing that the virus is trying to get her to mimic Elizabeth. And although I disagree with them, even if the theories about there being a robot Charlie, robot crying child, robot Elizabeth, etc. are true, then that further pushes the idea that this new story of FNAF is all about mimicking what once was. We can see that in the upcoming book, including the Mimic and Tiger Rock stories, that Edwin will be a big feature. So it seems that with those stories and or the future epilogues, they will possibly give us more information on this virus, as well as possibly the story of how Afton's actual organs and suit get mixed with the Mimic Endoskelton too, which the character encyclopedia does seem to be hinting at, which those parts do seem to be incorporated for a reason, that reason possibly being that Burntrap is its primal and main form that it uses. And speaking of the encyclopedia, by the way, Burntrap not being the canon name of the character may be actually hinting at the upcoming reveal, that it's instead going to be called the Mimic. I say that because names like Glitchtrap are actually fan names, created by us, that were later adopted and became their canon names. So why is this specific fan name not being adopted, even though the book is clearly aware of the name? It's almost as if they already knew its canon name beforehand. So it seems like Mimic is the true name of our new Afton. Mimic's endoskeleton has its origin told in the books, and while we already know that the organs and suit come from William's true body, the how will hopefully soon be explained there too. And if this theory is correct, then finally William is actually dead for once, and Henry's big speech actually means something. Anyways, once again, thank you for Anton for the majority of this theory, and thank you all so much for watching. And let's see what these next few books and the Ruin DLC will give us, and whether this theory turns out to be true. I'll see you next week.